Hello everyone, good morning. Today is 19th of April and I welcome you all to the Hindu newspaper analysis discussion. So guys, let's start with the video. In today's video, we'll take up the entire analysis of the Hindu newspaper and all the articles along with the background and way forward we are going to see. And I would like to tell you before starting this session that if you want, you can also download the explainer notes of this session from our Telegram channel. Link for Telegram channel is given in description box. Now, before starting, I would like to show you overview of newspaper so that we can understand that which are the important articles in the today's newspaper that you should read. Now, guys, okay. So first of all, we have taken this particular article in past 2 days continuously, where we have seen that right now Supreme Court is hearing the matter that whether the homosexual people can be allowed to get married or not. So the homosexual people, they want that they should be allowed to get married under Special Marriage Act's provision, but the center government is not very willing to allow them to get married. Now here the Supreme Court has provided this particular thing that we will see if Special Marriage Act can be deemed gender neutral or not. So guys, this matter is going on. However, in this particular thing, no final judgment has come. You are not required to go and track everyday development here. When the final judgment will come, we'll take it. Then it's Bilkis today, it can be anybody tomorrow, Supreme Court. Now guys, understand this thing. You might also be knowing that what happened a couple of months back. So basically this was about the Bilkis Bano rape case. So Bilkis Bano was gang raped by some people. Okay, they were convicted, but recently they have been given remission and they have been released. So this matter has gone to the Supreme Court that why these people who were convicted of the rape has been released. Okay, it will shake the faith of the people in the judicial processes. Now in this capacity, what has happened, Supreme Court has asked the reply of center government and Gujarat government, and it has been said that please show us the file that on what basis you have given the remission. Now in this particular capacity, what has happened, the government has refused to share the files. Okay, so the Supreme Court has said that if you are not giving us the information, we'll draw our own conclusions. And why you are not sharing the information? Today it's Bilkis Bano, tomorrow it can be somebody else. So this is the matter that has come. How judgment will come, which will have some implications with respect to the fundamental rights or any such kind of a thing, we will see. So beyond that, you are not required to track this particular in these articles for our examination. And then further moving on, Ajit Pawar's scotches talk about him joining the ruling alliance. Political articles, not very much important. India, Russia agree to deepen trade and economic relations. So guys, yesterday also we have seen this particular thing that India and Russia are talking about the growing deficit, okay, trade deficit, trade imbalance that has been there. So that will be corrected. More economic trade will be carried from the side of India to Russia. Exports will be increased. All these things. Then further moving on, guys, the advertisement. And then in city section, there are these regional political articles, advertisements, etc. that has been given. Okay, another dog attack in area where two siblings were killed. Okay, then again these advertisements, etc. have been given. So we don't have much relevant articles in the regional section. Largely the advertisements, political news are there. So directly we will reach to editorial section. And in editorial section, the first article, the future of India's civil society organization. Now, guys, this particular article actually is having a kind of a political undertone. The article is talking that how the BJP government has tried to stifle the CSOs, but we don't need to go in that particular political dimension. Fine, that political undertone we will avoid, and the academic substance that is there, we will extract only that and will read it. Then below article, a message for the planners in dealing with the dragon. Okay, now guys, the article, it is basically what the article is talking about. The article is talking about that recently Chinese government has announced the Chinese name of 11 places in Arunachal Pradesh. Now the article is talking about this particular thing, that how basically this is a kind of a basically how China is trying to change the narrative. Okay, how China is trying to change the narrative. Now guys, already in this particular capacity we have seen the article yesterday, but guys, again the same kind of a thing is being repeated there. And Sun Tzu's trap, Sun Tzu's how the China is using his policies or his suggestions, it is being provided here. Then the side article, Mission Rajasthan, Congress needs to put its house in order to beat back the BJP. Political article, no need to go too much in detail here. Then tragic failure, government must prepare people to deal with the extreme weather events. Now, what has happened. So recently there was a function in Maharashtra where there were nearly 1 million people that got assembled in an open ground, and there so many people have fainted because of the heat waves. So the article is talking about that 120 people, they suffered considerable heat stress, 13 died, 18 were hospitalized. So heat stress is increasing. Government needs to take some steps in this direction. Then a judgment that upholds the constitution. Okay, now basically guys, moving on in this particular direction, a judgment that upholds the constitution. Now what this particular judgment article is talking about, the article is talking about the recent media one judgment that was given by the Supreme Court. We will take it up. The app's recent U-turns, not relevant article. Then guys, after that, moving on, text and context, Nagaland's municipal tightrope. Now this article is talking about the municipal election issue going on in Nagaland, where a large section of people in Nagaland is not very much supportive of the idea that 33% seats should be reserved for women. So what is this entire controversy? We will see with respect to the GS paper number 2. Then what are the latest developments in Yemen? Now guys, understand this particular thing, that when we talk about the Yemen, within the Yemen there are the internal crises going on. What actually has happened in Yemen? There are the Houthis, which have been supported by the Iran, they are finding, and then there are the pro government fighters who have been supported by the Saudi Arabia. So Houthis backed by Iran and pro-government fighters supported by the Saudi Arabia and the Yemen government. They are fighting. In this particular fight, as it is going on, many prisoners have been taken by both of the sides. So recently what has happened, there was the prisoner swap that actually happened. Prisoner swap that has happened. Okay, so it is talking about that how many prisoners were swapped and all such kind of things. Then, should universal screening test be mandated to detect early heart diseases? So recently we have seen that many of the people who were deemed to be fit, they have died because of the sudden heart attacks, sudden deaths have happened. So in this capacity, there are some information that has been given. We'll take it up. Then further moving on. Your partners ask how is marriage an urban elitist matter? Okay, the exactly same article came yesterday also. I have even today I have told you that Supreme Court is hearing the matter that whether the same sex couples can be allowed to get married or not. So center in this regard has replied that it is an urban elitist mindset. The very few number of elite people living in urban India, they talk about the same sex marriages. So they say that no, it is not a correct thing. Okay, leave decision on same-sex union to parliament, says government. So this has been the stand from the government from the very start, that in this matter Supreme Court should not come out with any judgment. Deadline for Aadhar based payment under MGNREGA extended till June 30. We'll see this. Then after that guys, moving on in this direction, largely the political articles are there on this particular page. No need to go too much in detail. Then these tenders etc. we have Karnataka polls 2023. So guys, not important article with respect to the exam. You don't need to go and recover, see that which party is getting how many seats in the elections and all such things. Then further moving on, coming to the world page, anger in Kiev as Putin visits Ukraine frontline region. Okay, Sudan's capital hit by blast as conflict enters the fourth day. Now guys, understand this thing, that Russia-Ukraine war is going on, and see, first of all, you are not required to track everyday development that okay, today Russia had carried an attack here, these many people died, today Russian president came, went there, visited that person, not very much important. Then Sudan's capital hit by blast. So guys, we have seen this particular thing, that basically we find this particular thing that the hostilities are going on in Sudan, and up till now more than 200 people have died. Then further moving on, after that coming to the business page. So India China snap up Russian oil in above cap. India China snap up Russian oil in April above cap price gap. We'll see this particular article as what this article is all about. Then after that, India is planning to appeal a ruling of a panel that it violates global trading rules. Now guys, understand this thing, that when we talk about the IT tariffs, okay, on that IT tariffs there is a controversy going on, fine, of India within the WTO. So India will be filing an appeal. Then after that, Tim Cook opens first India Apple store in Mumbai. Not important article. India must not open floodgates to foreign air carriers. Okay. Then the sports page we have. Okay. So guys, this is all about the overview of the newspaper. I hope that you have understood the overview, and now let's discuss Now let's discuss the articles one by one in detail, the relevant articles one by one in detail. Now, starting up, so guys, in every class, we start with the GS quotation that can be used to complement our answers in GS paper number 1, 2, 3 and 4. And today we are going to take the quotation from the father of the nation, Mahatma Gandhi ji. So, Mahatma Gandhi says that if we want to reach real peace in this world, we should start educating children. We should start educating the children. Now, basically, guys, we need to understand this thing that number one, children. Children are the future of our world. Second, education. When we educate a person, education opens up the horizons of thinking, and such wide horizons of thinking makes us to look beyond the narrow divides of class, caste, religion. And when we are able to look beyond those narrow divides of class, caste and religion, we can truly embrace humanity. Okay, so this is the education. Now guys, understand this particular thing. We are talking about education and not just literacy, okay? Because education is wide encompassing phenomena where a person just not only learns the facts but also learns the application and utility of the learning. So if we want to reach the real peace, if we want to ensure that there should not be the communal disputes, caste disputes, ethnicity disputes, disputes on nationalities, we need to broaden the thinking horizon. That can happen only by education, and children should be educated because they are the future. This is the GS quotation for today. We can use it in essay paper, we can use it in GS paper number 4, ethics. So that is all guys about it. And now let's take the first article. Let's take the first article. Okay, so the first article guys, and a very important article talks about the Nagaland's municipal tightrope. So in this particular article guys, we will see the controversy going on in Nagaland with respect to the urban local body elections and women reservation. So in GS paper number 1 as well as GS paper number 2, issues related to the women have been mentioned. So under that, both GS 1 and GS 2, we will take this particular article. Now, before going on in this particular article guys, let me give you some of the basic background, and after understanding that background, we will go in this particular article. So, you might be knowing about the 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment Act. 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment Act. Now, these two amendment acts constitutionalized the Panchayati Raj institutions. 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act talked about the Panchayati Raj institutions. 74th Constitutional Amendment Act talked about the creation of the urban local bodies. Moreover, guys, here in these institutions, specifically the provision was made that the women should be given reservation. Women should be given reservation, and it was provided that at least 33% of the seats should be reserved for women. Now, many of the states have actually implemented it and have went beyond that, and many of the states in place of 33% are actually providing the 50% reservation to the women. That is one side of the story. But when we talk about guys the Nagaland, in Nagaland there is an issue that is going on. Basically the issue is this, that 74th Constitutional Amendment Act, 74th Constitutional Amendment Act, which provided the urban local bodies, I already told you, it provided that 33% seats should be reserved for the women. But up till now, this particular provision of reserving 33% seats has not been applied in Nagaland. And the people, large number of people are protesting that we will not even apply it in the future as well. Now, let's understand little bit in more detail this particular article. Now, first of all guys, when we talk about the Nagaland, it is the only state where urban local body seats are not reserved for women as it was mandated by the 74th Amendment Act. Now, why? Because of Article 371A of the Constitution of India. Okay, now understand this thing. Guys, we know this particular thing that certain states have been given a special status. Certain states have been given the special status. And in this capacity, Article number 371A is specifically for Nagaland. And as per Article 371A, a special provision has been made for Nagaland, where it has been provided that no act of the parliament would apply to the Nagaland, basically any act of parliament if it is impacting the religious, social practices of Naga, if it is impacting the Naga customary law, procedure, administration of civil and criminal justice, Okay, if any law is being brought by parliament which will affect these particular things, it will not be applicable to the Nagaland only. It will be applicable when the people of Nagaland and the government of Nagaland will give their approval. This is something that has happened. Now, what has happened? We see this thing that the 74th Constitutional Amendment Act provided 33% reservation to women in urban local bodies. And the Naga people are saying here that what you are going to do, you are trying to change our customary law. You are trying to change our customary procedure. Fine, you are trying to change our own administration. Fine, you are imposing this particular condition on us. Now, when we talk about the ho-hos, what are the ho-hos? The tribal bodies of Nagas. They say this particular thing that women traditionally have been made as the part of the decision making body, but you cannot impose on us that mandatorily you have to reserve the 33% seats for the women. They said that you are interfering with the special protections that have been given to us under Article 371A of the Constitution. So this is the issue that is going on. Now guys, what has happened? What has happened when we talk about the Nagaland, guys? Okay, so up till now there is only one civic election, urban local body election, that has happened in Nagaland, and it was in 2004. Now this particular election happened without any reservation of the seats for the women. Okay, and after that particular thing, guys, what happened? The state government said that okay, from the next election we will try to reserve the seats for the women. And what actually happened? The government of the Nagaland, they amended the Municipal Act in 2006, and after amending the Municipal Act of 2006, they provided that from now onwards 33% reservation for the women will be given in line with the 74th Constitutional Amendment Act. But again the same issue came, that the people there, they started to protest. They started to protest this particular thing, that no, you are again breaching the Article 371A, you are interfering in our customary law. People started to protest again, and what happened? A widespread opposition came, and government postponed the urban local body election in 2009. Now see this thing, there was election in 2004. After that, next election was to be held in 2009 after 5 years. But this election could not be conducted because people were not ready to accept this 33% reservation. Okay. Then guys, what happened? The Supreme Court provided this particular thing, that the Nagaland government should hold the consultation with the civil societies, should hold consultation with the public, and should settle this particular entire matter. This was the Supreme Court. Okay, fine. So under the pressure of the Supreme Court, the government started holding ULBs polls. They consulted the people, okay. And what happened in this particular capacity? The state government said that urban local body polls will be held after this particular consultation. Now, recently, what has happened? State Election Commission. Now, guys, you might be knowing that when we talk about the Election Commission of India, Election Commission of India will be responsible for the election at the Parliament, state legislative assemblies, but for the panchayat and urban local body election, State Election Commission will be responsible. So now the State Election Commission recently has provided that enough of the discussion you have done till now, and now it is high time that we should finally conduct the elections in the urban local bodies, because after 2004, since 2004, the elections have actually been suspended. So Election Commission said that in the month of May, that is the coming month, the elections were to be conducted. But these elections were to be conducted along with the 33% reservation. Why? Because 2006 Act has already been amended. Now, again, what happened? Tribal bodies, civil society organizations, they started to protest. And they said this thing, that we will not allow the election. Now, what has happened? The government of Nagaland has also succumbed to the pressure of the Nagaland government, also have bent to the pressure of the people there, and they have said this thing, that we are actually repealing the Municipal Act of 2006. It means that we will not be reserving the 33% seats for the women. This is the issue that is going on. Why? Because they say that Article 371A is more important. 371A is more important. They want to preserve their customary practices. Is it clear? So government is repealing this particular act. Now, what is to be the way forward in this particular capacity? Now guys, this entire matter very clearly seems that it is a kind of a matter of mistrust that has developed between the government of Nagaland and it seems to be a question of a matter of mistrust between the government of Nagaland and the people of Nagaland. There is a kind of a rivalry that seems to be between Article 371A and the 74th Constitutional Amendment Act. Now this is not a correct approach. We need to resolve this particular matter by bringing both the parties at a common table. So the government of Nagaland, okay, and then the people, they should be brought together and it should be reconciled. Now the protesters, they have provided this particular thing that we want a guarantee that this 33% quota would not violate the provisions of Article 371A. We will reserve the 33% seats, but you should not impose it on us, number one. Number two, they say this particular thing that if you want to carry the elections of the ULB with the 33% reservation, then the duration of this particular reservation should be capped at 2 tenures maximum. Okay, so more than 2 tenures, we will not be allowing this 33% reservation. They also say that this the post of chairperson should not be reserved for the women. These are some of the demands. Okay, so point is that the government and the protesters should come on a negotiating table and this particular matter should be taken up forward. Why? Because guys, this happens to be a very important matter. When we talk about the tribal societies, always the tribal societies have held the women rights, women autonomy in high regard, and even the Naga people have always given a lot of decision making power to the women. Okay, so there seems to be a kind of a difference in perception which needs to be resolved now. Now moving to the next article. Should universal screening test be mandated to detect early heart disease? Now this particular article, guys, will see with respect to the GS paper number 2 issues related to the health. GS paper number 2 issues related to the health. Now, before going on in this particular article, guys, first of all, understand this thing. You are not required to go too much in detail in this particular article because then it will not be that much relevant. Only the material relevant to the exam we need to pick up here. Now, let's understand this thing. So basically guys, you might have heard a lot of news in the past few months where we find this thing that the people who were regularly going to the gym, the people who were regularly doing some exercise, many of them are dying because of the sudden heart attacks, because of the sudden heart strokes. This is many Bollywood as well as TV stars have also died because of this particular phenomena. Now we are going to understand this particular issue in a little bit detail, that what screening test can be there, what are the problems in the screening test because of which the people are not being detected early when they are having the heart disease and all such things. So basically, we have seen that the sudden deaths have increased. Now, first of all, what do we mean by the sudden death? Death will always be sudden. Everybody knows this particular thing. So what is actually the meaning of this word sudden death? Basically, guys, sudden death means that a person was healthy till yesterday. But what happened? Suddenly a person got, for example, a heart attack, and within 24 hours of that heart attack, the person have died. The point is that this person did not show any symptom of heart disease in entire life. Just in a nick of a moment, a heart attack came, and within 24 hours, the person have died. This is the sudden death. So dying within 24 hours of symptoms. And what is the very big reason today for the sudden death? This is the heart attacks, heart rhythm abnormalities. Okay, so guys, our heart beats at around 72 times per minute, but sometimes there are very high abnormalities. Okay, sometimes it might go to 70, something like that. Sometimes it will go to 110, 115. So there are regular heart rhythm abnormalities that are there. There are the heart strokes. There is ischemia. Now what is ischemia? Ischemia is when there is the reduction in blood flow to the heart. Okay, so guys, we know this particular thing that the arteries are taking the blood. Okay, so many number of times the arteries that are supplying, they are blocked due to the fat deposit. So because of that, the blood flow restricts, and that is ischemia. So ischemia, that is the restriction in the blood flow. Ischemia, restriction in the blood flow. Then there are the heart strokes, abnormalities in the heartbeat, heart rhythm. Because of this particular thing, many number of people are dying. So in a nutshell, because of the heart disease, people are dying. Now guys, understand this particular thing, that when we talk about the heart diseases, there can be a sudden heart attack there can be a sudden heart attack where a kind of a blood clot has been formed, fine, and a blockage has happened into the vessels. Okay, this could be sudden. Sometimes what happens over a period, there is a kind of a built up of fat, etc., that happens in our vessels, blood vessels, fine. And what happens, basically you observe the chest pain while doing some physical activity. So what happens, A is that you did not had any heart medical history, you did not had any problem, just suddenly a kind of a heart attack came. Then there can be an issue that what is the matter, that you observe that when you do some physical activity, you go to gym, you go to running, there is some kind of a heart pain that is happening. It is an early indicator that there might be a blockage in your arteries. Okay, so there can be the both. Now guys, these particular kind of things can be detected by early screening and early detection. Early screening and early detection. Now guys, understand this particular thing, that one are the screening test and other type of test are the confirmatory test. Now what are the screening tests? Screening tests are the regular checkups by which your body is screened to find if there is some kind of an abnormality. These are the screening tests. For example, you are going for ECG, you are going for heart, you are going for a range of the blood test. Now for example, the ECG is being done. ECG is a normal screening test, and in ECG, if there is some kind of an abnormality is detected, that abnormality can be an example of some kind of an underlying heart condition, then a kind of a comprehensive test will be done only on the heart, and it will be confirmed that whether that abnormality is because of a disease or whether that abnormality was nothing to worry. So we have the screening test where a preliminary assessment of a person is done, and in that preliminary assessment screening test some abnormality is there, then the confirmatory test, specific tests are done to confirm that whether there is a disease or whether disease is not there. Okay, this is something that is there. Now guys, understand this particular thing, that when we talk about these tests, all, that is the screening test as well as the confirmatory test, always there will be the room of error, always there can be the possibility of false negatives, false positives. First of all, what is a false negative? A person had a disease, but we classified that particular person as a disease free, that is a false negative. False positive means that a person did not had a disease, but we classified him as having a disease, that is a false negative and a false positive. So both of these problems are always there whenever the test is conducted. Okay, so many number of times they misclassify. Now, when we talk about the common tests that are available for the diagnosis of the heart ailments, what are the common tests? There is electrocardiograms, that is ECG. Then there is echocardiography. There are the stress test, angiography. Now, let's briefly discuss about these particular tests. Now, first of all, the ECG, okay, that is electrocardiogram. Now, this electrocardiogram, it can be used to diagnose the acute heart attacks. Is it clear or not? Then, but when we talk about the ECG, ECG tracks your heart rhythm, and now ECG can diagnose the heart attacks, but ECG cannot be used to diagnose the future heart attacks. Okay, presently if there is an abnormality, it will be detected, but suppose in present, right now there is no abnormality, but in future there can be. Fine, can we predict that future abnormality by ECG? No. Then there are the echocardiography. Now, what is echocardiography? Echocardiography provides information about the pumping capacity of the heart muscles and the functioning of the heart valves. Okay, so right now guys, whether the heart is functioning properly, whether the heart is pumping blood properly, if it is not functioning to its full capacity, if it is not pumping blood to its full capacity, we can know that there is kind of an abnormality. But does it tells about the vessel blockage? No. Now, the abnormality in the heart can be because of the vessel blockage, it could be because of any other thing. So, most of the times guys, we see this particular thing that the heart attacks are related due to the vessel blockage, but does it very clearly tell that right now the vessel is blocked, or if it is blocked, to how much percentage it is blocked? No. Then guys, there is also the TMTs, fine, or the stress test, also called as the exercise test. Now, what happens here? So basically the ECG will be conducted on a person after the person has done some exercise, after the person has done some physical activity. So by that particular thing, heart will be tested, that how the heart performs in the matters of stress. This is something. Then guys, after that particular thing, what is done? Then there are the imaging, there are the visual imaging where the heart's arteries are imaged. heart arteries are imaged to find that if there is any blockage or not. Now earlier it used to happen by inserting tubes in the body, but today by the CT scanning, the arteries can be seen if they are blocked or not. Now, so these are guys majorly the tests that we have. Now, which type of test is to be taken by a person? It depends on the health condition of that person, upon medical history of that person, about seeing that what has been the lifestyle of that particular person, is there a family history or not, all these particular matter. Now guys, when we talk about the screening test, okay, now the issue that comes here is that in India, guys, in India, we have not conducted the screening test on the mass numbers. There are many people who might be probable to have a heart disease, but never the screening test on these people are carried. What is the problem? Problem is, number one, that many number of times these tests are very expensive. Number two, these tests most of the times are not available in most of the hospitals, particularly in the rural areas and into the small cities. Third, people don't have awareness. Fourth, government is also not very much spreading awareness, and government is not taking too much of initiatives for ensuring these regular health checkups. Now understand this thing, that when we talk about the large scale checkups, fine, which screening test is to be done? It is on the basis of the assessment of risk, benefit, cost, pragmatic parameters. Okay. Now, main number of times, guys, there is also one more issue that comes into these particular tests. Now, see this thing. Main number of times, there is the false labeling. For example, what happens? Suppose on a person, the stress ECG was done. And in the stress ECG, a person showed some kind of an abnormality. And on that particular abnormality, that person was informed that you have some kind of an heart disease, but actually heart disease was not there. Okay, what will happen? This is an example of false positive, false labeling. Now, this particular thing will give to an unnecessary anxiety, more unwarranted test, fine, etc. will be done. So, this is one thing, that many number of times false positives are there. So, many number of times, guys, now understand this thing. Suppose there is a kind of an abnormality. Okay, now that abnormality could be because of some underlying disease, or could not be because of a disease. It is a kind of a disease is not there. It is just a kind of a situational. This is just a kind of a situational diagnosis, which is showing some kind of a problem. Fine, disease is not there. Now what happens if we say that there is an abnormality and you might have disease? Then a person has to go for a lot of tests. It will create a lot of anxiety, and in order to avoid that particular anxiety, even these abnormalities are not taken seriously. Fine, they are not taken very much seriously. That is a very big issue that's there. Now, in the Indian context, understand this particular thing, that 25 to 30% of the Indians, they are above 40 years of age. Okay, and at least this particular section of society needs to be provided the detection, and they are needed to be provided the test. But the problem are there that these tests are expensive, 6,000 to 15,000 rupees, and they are not available in most of the district hospitals. Okay, so we are not conducting them. So basically what we need to do, number one, facilities should be provided. Secondly, at least the people who are above 40 years of age, and the people who have tobacco use, who are doing tobacco use, who have obesity, who have hypertension, diabetes, hyper cholesterol, okay, family history, early heart disease history, these should be the focus people who should be taking the test anyhow. So this is, guys, all about this particular article. Okay, now I hope you have understood it, and moving to the next article. The future of India's civil society organization. Now this particular article, guys, will see with respect to the GS paper number 2, civil societies, NGOs, Now, what do we understand by a civil society? Civil society, it is a kind of a civil society is a kind of a union. Civil society is a kind of a platform where the people who are concerned about any one issue, they come together, they lobby their concern to the government, they ask the government to take the relevant steps. Okay, we can have civil societies in for many of the things. Civil societies can be there for education. Now understand one particular thing, guys. When we talk about civil society is an umbrella term. Civil society is an umbrella term which is the union of the people. Sometimes the NGOs, non-governmental organization, they are included within the CSO. So CSO is an umbrella term. Now what actually has what actually is the crux of this particular article is that the article is talking about that the BJP government is trying to stifle the CSOs, but we are not required to give that particular political undertone to our article, so we will not be giving such kind of references. Now, when we talk about the civil society organization, it has been said that the government in the past few years have systemically suffocated the civil society organization. Civil society organizations are not being heard by the government. Now, how this particular thing has happened? First of all, guys, understand this particular thing, that when we talk about the civil society organizations, they have a lot of expertise. Now, understand this thing, that the civil society organizations, who are their members? First of all, you need to understand them. So their members are the retired bureaucrats, their members are the public spirited individuals, educationists, academicians, okay, the people who have worked on a particular problem for so many of the years, they are the member of the CSOs. Many number of times the civil society organizations, NGOs, have provided their expert advice to the government. Now, if I give you the example of the Right to Information Act, RT Act came after the civil society activism happened in India, and they provided a lot of expertise, and government drafted the RTA Act, which till now had proved to be a very good law in India. Okay, now understand this particular thing, that the ability of civil societies to shape a public policy, public discourse now has shrunk drastically. Why? Because government is not inviting them, government is not asking their opinions, government is stifling them. Government today are seeing these civil society organizations as anti-national organizations. Moreover, their access to raise the resource has also been restricted. For example, many of the civil societies, particularly the NGOs, they were receiving the money from the foreign sources under the Foreign Contribution Regulation Act, FCRA. But what has happened recently, the government has came out with an amendment into the FCRA, and very stringent norms have been imposed for accessing the money from the foreign sources. Now, and it has been said that it is deliberately being done to stifle those NGOs which have challenged the government. Many of the NGOs licenses, clearances have been revoked, their licenses have been cancelled, retrospective taxes have been imposed on them. Okay. Moreover, many of the corporates who had given funding to these NGO civil societies, these corporates are also being pressurized by the government to redirect the funding from these NGO to some other place. This is something that has happened. Now, guys, understand this thing, that when we today talk about the CSOs, we find that the CSOs have got divided in two parts. There are one type of CSOs which are getting regularly the government patronage. Who are these CSOs, or who are these NGOs? Which are aligned with the ideology of government. Which are aligned with the ideology of government. They are getting patronage from the government, and they are the principal beneficiaries of the CSR funds. Okay, they also have a lot of influence on the state government department. They have also influence on the MPs, MLAs. Okay, because they are very much aligned to the government ideology. Okay, then there are the progressive CSOs. They are the progressive CSOs which are advocating the progressive ideals. For example, progressive CSOs, for example, the NGOs and civil society organizations which are talking about legalization of same-sex marriages, which talk about the enhancement into the freedom of speech and expression, which talks about more liberal values. These are the civil society organizations, progressive CSOs. Now it is being said, government, what actually has happened, government has created a narrative that these CSOs don't have any knowledge about the social custom, socio-cultural realities. They don't have any idea. It is being said that they have failed to blend with the socio-cultural values. They have failed to blend with the welfare. Okay. Moreover, guys, even these CSOs often are not able to connect with the masses. Fine, they themselves are not able to connect the masses, and then a perception is being created that they don't know about the culture of India, socio-cultural settings of India. Now, this particular problem, it is something which is concerning, and the article is saying this particular thing, that understand, now there is a lot of financial and structural constraints that have been imposed onto the CSOs. And because a lot of financial and structural constraints have been imposed, what is happening? The youngsters who were earlier the part of the CSOs, they are drifting away from these CSOs because these youngsters need some financial assistance. Okay, but these CSOs, if they don't have finances, they cannot pay them. So many of them are leaving. Then it is providing that what happened, as these CSOs are not getting any kind of a support, but neither they are getting financial support, not they are getting the government support, they cannot positively mold public discourse. Okay, to mold the public discourse, to carry further their agenda, to take the rallies, reform movements, they need resource, but right now they don't have. Then next, it is being provided that government also is consciously avoiding the CSO movements. Okay, why? Because many number of times, guys, government is because most of the time when these CSOs are criticizing the government doesn't takes it positively. Government is also avoiding them. Government is also stifling them. So even the morale of the organization is going down. Now, the way forward that has been suggested in this particular article is that right now there is a need that the civil society organization, NGOs, should collaborate with the progressive stakeholders. They should collaborate with the private philanthropies. They should collaborate with the corporates, fine, who also believe in their vision, and these private philanthropies, fine, they should provide the money to them, and they should use that particular money for carrying the reforms. Even under the corporate social responsibility, the corporate should provide the funding to them. So it has been said that when we talk about the civil societies, they are the fifth pillar of Indian democracy. See, judiciary, executive, legislature are the three pillars. Fourth pillar is media, and the fifth pillar is civil society. Okay, so they should be strengthened. Fine. This is all, guys, about this particular article. And now moving to the next article. Okay. Now, a judgment that upholds the Constitution. A judgment that upholds the Constitution. Now, we'll see this particular article with respect to the GS paper number 2, constitutional issues. GS paper number 2, constitutional issues. Now, before going in this particular article, I would like to tell you some of the background, and after understanding this particular background, let's talk about the details of this particular article. Now, basically, guys, Media One was a Media One was a Malayalam news channel. What happened last year? This Media One, it was put off air. It was put off air. Fine. Why it was put off air? Because government said that it has broadcasted some of the information on their channel which was anti-national. So therefore they were suspended. It was put off air. Then this Media One channel, it approached to the Kerala High Court, and then it approached to the Supreme Court. And it was asked that what anti-national we have shown. You show us. What happened? Government presented its case in a sealed cover letter. What is a sealed cover letter? Whenever a government is giving any material in the sealed cover, it means that material cannot be shown to the other party. Means whatever logic, whatever reasoning, whatever proof government has given here to the court, then that material cannot be shown to the Media One. Okay, this is something that happened. Now, guys, after that particular thing, what happened? Supreme Court said that this is wrong precedence. You should not submit the documents into the sealed cover. Supreme Court asked the government that you please allow the Media One to air their content. But again, guys, what had happened recently, the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, they had refused that the broadcasting license of the Media One will not be renewed. They have said that the broadcasting license of the Media One will not be renewed. Is it clear? In this capacity, guys, what has happened? The Supreme Court has held that by not providing a reasoned order that why you are not renewing their license, okay, by not disclosing the relevant material, fine, what has happened? The Supreme Court has, the government has violated the Madhyamam Broadcasting Limited, okay, or Media One's right for fair hearing under Article 21. So Article 21, which talks about the right to life and liberty, also talks about the right to fair trial. Now, what has actually happened? You have cancelled the license and you are not renewing the license of the Media One, and you are also not giving them reasons why we are not renewing. So you are not giving them the right to fair trial. You are not giving them the authority to put forward their case. Okay, this is something that has happened. Now, basically, guys, when we talk about this particular judgment, this judgment is a very important judgment and a landmark judgment on the okay. So this particular judgment is a very important judgment on the freedom of speech and expression. Freedom of speech and expression. Now, understand this particular thing, guys, that I told you this sealed cover letter issue. sealed cover letter. Sealed cover letter issue. Now understand this particular thing. I will explain a little bit more on that. So what has happened, this has become the habit of the government, that what government does whenever it is a party in a case, and many number of times it submits its evidences, its submissions in the sealed cover, and that sealed cover cannot be shown to the other party. This sealed cover jurisprudence takes away the right to fair trial. How? Because guys, understand that if there is an accused, if an accused doesn't know that what has been published against him in the court, then how he can defend himself, how his advocate, how his counsel can defend the client. So sealed cover actually goes against the spirit of the free trial. Now Supreme Court has criticized this sealed cover jurisprudence. Supreme Court also have criticized the government that why you have cancelled their license, and by this particular thing, freedom of speech and expression, the sealed cover malpractice, all it has been brought to the limelight. Now this is a very good thing, because guys, over the past few months and last one and a half year, we have seen this particular thing, that the government has come under a lot of criticism, because it is being said that the government is curbing dissent, government is cancelling all the ideas which are challenging the government. Moreover, the Supreme Court also have come under criticism. Why Supreme Court has come under criticism? Because on many of the matters, Supreme Court has not heard them. For example, Supreme Court has postponed the electoral bond issue. Supreme Court has not up till now heard the matter of the dilution of Article 370. Supreme Court also have upheld the provisions of the Money Laundering Act, under which the people have been arrested, and many number of times it has also been used for the political reason. So the Supreme Court was criticized on these particular matters. Now guys, what has happened? Supreme Court is showing itself as a progressive court by these, just a minute. So now the Supreme Court is showing itself as a progressive by these particular matters. Now first of all, Supreme Court criticizing the government that you cannot stifle the freedom of speech and expression. Supreme Court criticizing the government for giving the sealed cover letter. By that, Supreme Court is again proving its credentials. Moreover, recently there was also one more judgment that came, that is Anup Barnwal versus Union of India. Now what is this Anup Barnwal versus Union of India case? Listen this particular matter. So guys, recently we have seen this thing, that the election commission, election commissioner's appointment process was changed. So recently it was provided that now election commissioner cannot just be appointed by the executive, rather election commissioner need to be appointed by the collegium, and this collegium will have Chief Justice of India, Prime Minister, leader of opposition. So executive's power on appointing the ECI was taken and the collegium was brought. So this is a progressive judgment. Then in the Media One case, where the Supreme Court have criticized the government for sealed cover submission, where the Supreme Court has provided that why you have not given any explanation. These are some of the progressive judgments. Now, there is also guys one more judgment, that was the Puttaswamy case that came. Now guys, in the Puttaswamy case, what has happened? The Supreme Court has provided that the privacy will be a fundamental right under Article number 21. Now, the Puttaswamy, in the Puttaswamy case, what has happened? The court have expounded the idea of privacy, but that particular idea of privacy was just propounded at a doctrinal level. But now what has happened? Further, Supreme Court is moving forward and upholding even more fundamental rights, even more fundamental liberties, as it has done in Media One case, where it has specifically said that you cannot just arbitrarily cancel the broadcasting license, because even the media has the freedom of speech and expression. Okay, so this is guys largely about this particular article. Now moving to the next article. One more thing guys, here understand this particular thing. The same thing has been repeated, that judiciary is resisting the majoritarian overtones. Judiciary is going against the majority viewpoint. It is also going against the government. This is a good thing. This is a good thing. Now, India China snap up Russian oil in April above price cap. Now guys, in this particular article, just a small just a small concept you need to understand. Now see this thing. Right now, Russia-Ukraine war is going on. Okay, and we see this particular thing, that the USA and particularly the members of the G7, they have supported the Ukraine and they are criticizing the Russia for this particular war. Moreover guys, what actually has happened, many of the sanctions have also been imposed on the Russia because of this Russia-Ukraine war is going on. And amongst the sanction, one sanction was announced a few months back by the G7. what G7 has provided? G7 has provided that if any country wants to buy the crude oil from Russia, then maximum price that they can pay is $60 per barrel, is $60 per barrel. Above $60 per barrel, they cannot pay the price to Russia. Now guys, understand this particular thing, that today Russia has become a major supplier of crude oil. Even Russia has become the major supplier, biggest supplier of crude oil to India. Right now guys, inflation is already high, and USA knows this particular thing, that they cannot completely ban the oil exports from Russia, because then the oil shortage will come in the world. But at the same time, they cannot allow Russia to earn a lot of money by selling their oil. So they have provided that they have provided a price limit, that is a $60 per barrel. Now earlier guys, this price limit was acceptable. Why? Because anyhow the price of the crude oil in the international market was below 60. But now guys, what is happening? The price of the crude oil is increasing, and today it is leading to a lot of problem. If Russia is selling the crude at $60, they are incurring a lot of losses, but they have to sell oil anyhow. Now guys, what actually has happened? India and China have recently taken a lot of Russian oil above the price cap of $60 per barrel. So what is happening? They are breaching the G7's mandate. They are breaching the G7's mandate. They have taken a lot of oil above the $60 per barrel, and India and China have not agreed to abide by the G7's price cap. Now, in this capacity, the West is saying this particular thing, that we can impose sanctions and all such kind of thing. We can impose the sanctions and all such kind of things. But still, the China and India are procuring the oil from Russia. Why? Because it is the matter of the energy security. It is the matter of energy security, which happens to be very important. Then the next is deadline for Aadhar based payment under MGNREGA extended till June 30. Now guys, understand this particular thing, that MGNREGA, Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act, is the right based act where 100 days of paid employment is to be provided to the people. 100 days of paid employment is to be provided. Now it is only there for the rural India. Secondly, unskilled work will be provided, and anyone who demands the work has to be given the work. It is not specifically for BPL people or a particular section of people. Now, what has happened within MGNREGA, the payments are to be given to the people. The workers who have worked, they are needed to be given the payment within the 15 days. Within the 15 days. Now, government is now coming that all the payment of MGNREGA will be given in their bank accounts, and for that particular thing, basically, Aadhar based payment system has been brought. Okay, Aadhar based payment system has been brought, and the workers have to enroll under it. But up till now, only 80% enrollments have happened. 20% of the workers have still not enrolled for the Aadhar based payment system under MGNREGA, and for that 30 June has been given a new deadline. That is something. Now guys, you are not required to see these particular deadlines and all such kind of things, because in prelims examination such things are not asked, and by the time you will write your mains exam, this particular matter would have changed. Fine, and that is the entire issue. So this is all guys about this particular article. And now taking the mains practice question for today. So the mains practice question for today, it reads: in the recent times, the ability of civil society to shape policy and public discourse has shrunk drastically. In this context, discuss the way forward to revive civil society, arguably the fifth pillar of Indian democracy. So this is going to be the GS paper number 2 10 marker question. So that is all guys about it. Okay, I hope that you have understood it. Okay, so this is all, and guys, with this we come to an end to the today's newspaper analysis. If you have liked the video, please do hit the like button, and please do support our initiative. Thank you.